All right, we are back, and we're going to continue with time signatures, and then we're going to go a little bit further with some more notation. All right, I'm going to erase just everything in between here. On your modules, you should be, you will also get some exercises in regards to notes, counting notes and the measures based on the time signature. We have a time signature here of 3-4, which we just used. I'm going to change this one. I just want to do a couple more examples and then go further. I'm going to change this one to 3-8. 3 beats in a measure, but this time the 8th note will get the pulse or the beat. So I just want to write it down here as well. When you see the number 4, that means quarter note. When you see the number 8, it's 8th note. You see the number 2, which you will see sometimes. That is half note. You see the number 1, and you will see that sometimes. That's whole note. Rare, but you will see that. And anything above 8, just start dividing the flags here. 16, 32, and so on. You do see those types of time signatures, but basically 4, 8, and 2 are the main ones you'll see more often. 3 beats in a measure, and now the 8th note gets the beat. So therefore, we've literally started doubling. All right? So, let's see. So if the 8th note is getting the beat, all right? If the 8th note gets the beat, how many beats will this be? This will be 2 beats because the 8th note is 1, so we're doubling now. So that will be 2 beats. So I need to put 3 beats in this measure. Here's my 3rd beat. And so forth and so on. So now you see how I can build based on that tree, understanding what notes are, how much these notes are double, these notes are half the value, etc. This is why it's better to learn by this tree rather than automatically assuming that the quarter note gets 1 beat. As you can see, that's not always the case, as this quarter note in this time signature is getting 2 beats. And that's why I don't teach the quarter note gets 1 beat, the half note gets 2 beat. I basically say that the quarter note it takes 1 quarter note, 2 quarter notes rather, to make a half note. It takes 2 half notes to make a whole note. So that's why the trees are more important than just a generic understanding of the quarter note gets 1 beat, because as you can see, in this time signature, it doesn't. All right? So you will get some exercises, probably a couple of them through PowerPoint at this point. And basically, I will guide you through a couple of them, and then you can do them on your own so that you can begin to subdivide and double and all of that type of stuff, and begin to count out as well as clap out the rhythms. Again, because we're an online course, we don't have the time to interact for the rhythms, but I can give you as many exercises as possible. And this is something that you need to do ongoing on your own as you're learning the other modules. Okay, forgive me for looking for the next thing. Yep. All right. So now that I've given you basic note values, I'm going to introduce you to a nice little something that happens every once in a while. This little thing is called a dot, and therefore we call this a dotted note. In this case, a dotted half note. What the dot does, it simply takes 1/2 of the value of the note and adds that value to the note. Based on the time signature itself. Remember, the time signature, one of its most important things, it lets us know which note receives the beat. So I'm going to put down 3/4 time or 3/4 time, 3 beats in the measure, and the quarter note gets the beat. So if the quarter note is getting the beat, we know that the half note is going to double, as always. No matter how it happens, if the quarter note is getting the beat, the half note therefore is double that. So we know that the half note is now 2 beats. The dot, however, has increased us by half its value. So the half note is 2 beats. The dot adds half of 2 to its value, or 1. Therefore, this dotted half note equals 3 beats. All right? So again, the original value of the half note is 2 beats. The dot takes half of its value and adds it to that value, and therefore makes it 3 beats. Let's do another one. Let's do the quarter note. In 3/4 time, the quarter note by itself is 1 beat. So the dot gives us half more. So 1 beat plus 0.5 or half makes that note 1.5 or 1.5 beats. And that's a dotted quarter note. Simple mathematics. Simply divide that note's value in half and add that half to the note's value. But it's all got to be based on the time signature. So I'm going to put another popular time signature up here. 6/8. 6 beats in the measure, and the 8th note gets the 1 count. I want to keep this note right here. It's a dotted quarter, but in 6/8 time, the quarter is doubled. Remember, the 8th note gets the beat, so everything above that note is doubled. So this is not 1 beat now, but it is 2 beats. The 8th note would get the beat. The quarter note now is doubled and therefore gets 2 beats. 2 beats plus the dot, which is half of that, has now made this note 3 beats in 6/8 time. So this dot is governed not only by the note that it's actually increasing, but it's also governed by the time signature. And that's very important, especially those of you who are going further into 101 and 102. The dot doesn't mean anything until you know what this is, until you know the time signature. Once you know the time signature, you therefore know the value of all the notes within that time signature. So let's go ahead and make this that 8th note. All I'm going to do is add a flag to it. This becomes a dotted 8th note. In 6/8 time, the 8th note receives the 1 beat, so the 8th note is 1. The dot divides that in half, and therefore you have 1.5 or 1.5 beats. Okay? Let's do another one. We'll still keep it in 6/8 time. There is such a thing as a dotted whole note. However, we'll see if it's usable in 6/8 time. The whole note in 6/8 time would double. So rather than be 4 beats, it would actually become 8 beats. Therefore, it really wouldn't fit in this time signature. But let's go ahead and fix it out, because after all, this would now be a whole lot more beats than necessary. So, but let's go ahead and figure it out anyway. This is a whole note, a dotted whole note, which does happen in music. The whole note now is 8 beats. Half of that makes it 12 beats. Because half of 8 is 4, 8 and 4 therefore is 12. But we wouldn't use a dotted whole note in 6/8 time. We would probably use it in this one, in 12/8 time. There we can work the equation. The whole note has now become 8 beats. This is divided into half. 4 plus 8 equals 12. And yeah, that would work. That would be a measure all by itself. All right? So now you know about the dot. Again, the dot increases the note's value by half of its value based on the time signature. So therefore you need to know what the value of that note is in that time signature to know the mathematics involved for the dot. All right? A couple of other things and we'll be done. I'll do 2 notes here. 2 quarter notes. All right? I'm not going to worry about that time signature for now. You'll sometimes see in music one of 2 things that helps bridge notes together other than bars. You will also see something like this. All right? That is called a tie. And what a tie does, it ties 2 notes together and therefore elongates the notes in such a way that we don't repeat this note twice. So it's not going to be ta, ta, it's going to be ta. Okay, so watch again. Not ta, ta, but ta. And it bridges 2 notes together so that it would have one sound. For example, if we had one word, rather than repeating the word for 2 beats, we'll just tie this together and the word will encompass that. So basically this is the same as this with a tie. So that's what a tie does. So rather than ta, ta, it's going to act like this. Ta, 2 beats. Ta, and that's a tie. Sometimes you see something up here, and that's a slur. I'm going to change this example a bit. And what a slur does, it just basically blends notes together. Let's make this. So this is going to be la. And that's what a slur does. It bridges notes together. We would still accentuate each note in a slur. We're just bridging them together to make it more the word we would use as vocalists as legato. So a tie, let's separate this. So this would be a slur, and this would be a tie. So a slur combines notes together into one seamless flow, and a tie would put these 2 notes together as one note, as opposed to 2 separate notes. So this will be, and I don't have reference of pitch, I'm just basically giving an example. La, and that would be a slur. It would just glide everything together. And this would be a tie. La, but we feel the 2 beats. La, without going la, la. We'll just feel the pulse of the two beats. So that's a slur. And the thing about a slur is that it bridges notes together. The notes can be on different notes. It would not usually be like this. It would be different notes. But for a tie, the notes would all be the same notes, just put together in such a way that we don't accentuate each note. So that's the difference between a slur and a tie. All right? All right, I'm almost done. We talked about bar lines or measure lines. We talked about end of music lines. And we're going to do the end of music. But sometimes you see two dots here in front of either an end of music bar line, or you will sometimes see it on the end of section. These two dots tell us simply to repeat. And that's what it's for. It tells us to repeat either a phrase or the whole song or a certain section of the song. We usually have to find something that lets us know where to start the repeat. In this case, let's say this is a whole set of music. Let me erase this one for the sake of getting it out of the way. Both of them will have repeats, by the way. When you have the repeat with this one, it tells us we're going to repeat a whole section, come back to this, and keep going. You only repeat it once unless the music tells you otherwise. It's rare that the music will tell you to repeat it more than once, but sometimes you'll have it repeating. So this is telling me to sing all of this, start right here, and then come back, in this case, probably to the beginning. Sometimes it will tell you to sing to a certain mark. That mark is called a coda. And what that coda does, it tells us where to start or stop the music. So I have the coda right here. This is telling me to repeat until I get, repeat when I get to this sign, go back to this sign, boom. Now start to repeat right here. Go to this and then go to my next set of phrasings, which will come up later. So that's what a repeat does. Two dots either in front of just the two straight bar lines or the ending bar line that I had. And it tells you to go back to a certain point and repeat. Sometimes a certain point will have a symbol, and that symbol is called a coda. Other times, you may have to assume to go all the way back to the beginning. We'll do more about this later. This was just to introduce you to that concept as well. All right. The next video that you'll get will basically be some dynamic markings and things of that sort. I'm just going to do that in a PowerPoint presentation because my time is pretty much up for today. Now, with all these videos about music notation, you have most of the notation that will come up in music. So go through these along with your textbook if you have your textbook. If you don't have your textbook by now, that's fine. These videos should be thorough enough for you to go through that. I would have also added some sheets in the modules so that you have those things to study. It's not a lot of sheets that I'll add for this one. This one is pretty straightforward. I will probably see if I can get some pages out of the book and just upload it for you in order to catch it while you're waiting to purchase your book. All right? Again, if you have any questions on any of this module, just let me know and I'll help you through it. But this is self-explanatory for a lot of you who've had much of this before or you've seen a lot of this before. If you feel that you are good to go, then you can go ahead and take the quiz. The quiz is already up at this present time. Go ahead and take the quiz. The quiz will allow you twice to take it so that if you don't do excuse me, if you don't do very well the first time, you can try again the second time and try to better your score, all right? And of course, I have the system set up for the highest score. So do well and study well and get ready for Module 2 once you're done with this module.